Rain, When Doves Cry, 1999, just a few of the songs that define the era of Prince. Today we remember a music icon. And part of our appreciation for Prince will include his influence on one local artist. You'll hear how he changed her life.
Temperatures once again on the high side today, but the winds of change will be taking over for the weekend. What exactly does that mean for you? We'll talk about that coming up in my complete forecast.
First in the Coachella Valley, you're watching KMIR TV Palm Springs, where the news comes first. KMIR News starts now.
Good afternoon. This is KMIR News First at 4:30, also streaming live on KMIR.com. I'm Thalia Hayden. First at 4:30 today, shocking news out of the entertainment world. Prince Rogers Nelson, known for decades simply as Prince, has died. There are reports that he had been fighting the flu for several weeks during his current tour. Mary Maloney reports.
I never meant to call you as I wrote. I never meant to call you.
Prince died at his suburban Minneapolis home. He was 57 years old. Authorities rushed quickly to the area upon hearing word of a death at the home, and local news crews said grieving fans began to gather shortly after the news came out. The artist had recently battled health issues. His private jet was forced to make an emergency medical landing in Illinois April 15th, and he had previously canceled 2 concerts, reportedly due to the flu. Larry King interviewed Prince in 1999.
I'm very shocked. I had no idea there was anything ever wrong. I know he had an event at his home over the weekend.
Not the time again that you want dropping my way. Yeah.
During his decades-long career, Prince won 7 Grammy Awards and racked up 30 nominations. 5 of his singles topped the charts, and another 14 cracked the top 10. Prince even took home an Oscar for Best Original Score for his work on Purple Rain.
Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain.
That's Purple Rain, one of many memorable songs for the performer known as the Purple One.
Now, tributes to Prince are worldwide. His death is a shock. Today, President Obama offered a tribute, calling Prince one of the most gifted and prolific musicians of our time. He went on to say that nobody's spirit was stronger, bolder, or more creative. Purple rained today at Target Field as the Minnesota Twins remembered Prince. The team turned all the lights purple at the baseball stadium with a special message on the video boards that read, "Good night, sweet Prince." The Twins posted the image on the Twitter account saying that it was fitting that it's raining in Minneapolis today. Prince was a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee and Minnesota native. Prince was a fan favorite when he headlined the Coachella Music and Arts Festival back in 2008. This is cell phone video you're seeing right now of that performance. One of those things that if you were lucky enough to see and record, you will keep forever. Prince had that kind of draw for his fans. And a local musician who has played with some of the greats talked about Prince's influence on her music and her career. KMIR's Kitty Alvarado has this part of our coverage.
Jeannie Cunningham is still trying to process the death of a legend, Prince.
Never meant to cause you any sorrow.
She describes Prince as a multi-talented genius.
Initially, you kind of go into a shock and a denial. He was so young, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
She describes Prince as a multi-talented genius.
When you think about the true greats in the world, there are great vocalists, there are great guitarists, there are great actors, there are great individual talents. Prince encapsulated all of them.
She says Prince's career path made her think it was possible for her to branch out. Cunningham was among the first women to own a recording studio.
I was inspired by Prince, and I felt that if Prince can do it, I can do it. If you can produce your own stuff and play your own instruments and do it well, Well, that was started by Prince.
Cunningham says a move Prince made put her on stage with another music icon.
As a result of Prince stealing Sheila E. from Lionel Richie's band, that I got that gig. If Sheila had not left to play with Prince, he would not have needed a female vocalist for his road band. So that's how I got that job.
Cunningham says future musicians can learn a lot from Prince.
I'm hoping that this next generation of musicians will take a look at him and look at what he did and revere him for not only his expression of talent, but his expression of sentiment in a lot of his songs.
She says the artist who changed his name several times can never be duplicated.
He was truly, truly one of the best that our generation has ever seen. And I don't know that we'll see so much talent in one unique individual ever again.
And of course, we will have more on the death of Prince throughout the evening. Time now for a check on weather. KMIR Chief Meteorologist Ginger Jeffries is standing by with more on what's happening outside. Ginger.
You saw a couple of those thin clouds enter into the mix today. Certainly a sign that we've got some changes headed for the Coachella Valley right now. Mid to upper 70s along the coastline, hanging out at 94 in Palm Springs. So as advertised, our daytime highs came down just a smidge today. Remember, yesterday we were almost hitting that triple-digit marker. Yesterday's high 99, today 95. So again, we are trending back closer to where we should be this time of the year and steering clear of those records of 107 degrees. Meantime, tonight we're still looking for those winds right around sundown. Again, we don't see a high velocity of wind and it doesn't look really widespread, but it should be right around 15 miles an hour, and that's enough to get those temperatures down to the low 60s. Meantime, we do have the winds of change headed our way, enough so National Weather Service putting a high wind advisory. This goes into place tomorrow evening. So from Friday evening to Saturday morning, get ready. Southwest winds 25 to 35 miles an hour with gust potential up to 60 miles an hour. So it's not going to be as widespread as last week's wind event, but I think it's still going to get the job done. What I'm talking about, much cooler weather in the works. 90 for you tomorrow, upper 80s on Saturday. The wind tapers off by Saturday. That means numbers turning right back around for the 90s on Sunday, but get this one. After the winds of change bring in some cooler temps, we're setting the stage for more wind in the works next week. Details you don't want to miss coming up in my complete forecast. Thalia.
Thanks, Ginger. Well, April is the month of festivals here in the Coachella Valley, and KMIR News has your passport to the Coachella Music and Arts Festival, more commonly known as Coachella 2016. KMIR's Angela Monroe is live at Westfield Mall right now where she's looking for someone to win a pair of these wristband tickets to Coachella. Angela.
Thalia, that's right. We are giving away 2 tickets to Coachella Fest 2016. Earlier this week, we gave away 2 online, but for this one, you have to come here to win. Take a look at the line. We definitely have more than 100, maybe bordering on hundreds of people here already lined up, waiting for a chance at this raffle for the tickets. Yep, they're excited to be here waiting. We also have Mix 100.5 playing music right now, and there's going to be a local band playing at 6. So you do still have time to get here to win your passport to Coachella. You just have to get here before 6. And of course, at Coachella, you're going to hear huge names like Guns N' Roses, but also local bands. Let's meet Brightener and the Flusters.
It's probably the most moving experiences of our life.
Yeah, it absolutely has been the most incredible experience of my life, and it's so like there's no words for it. And our gratitude, maybe.
I'll be back for weekend 2, same stage. Really excited, different band.
And the Flusters will be playing noon on Saturday in the Outdoor Theater. To see them, Guns N' Roses, Calvin Harris, Ice Cube, and more. And if you don't have a ticket, come on down here to the Westfield Palm Desert for your chance to win a raffle. Once again, you have to be here. And after that raffle as well, we're going to hear some live free music here, thanks to the Coachella Valley Art Scene, which is just right next door. And you'll be hearing Brightener. That was one of the local musicians you just heard from. Once again, come here to the Westfield Palm Desert before 6 tonight. Enter a raffle for your chance to win 2 tickets to Coachella. Live in Palm Desert, I'm Angela Monroe, KMIR News.
Thanks, Angela. That's huge for whoever wins. Good luck. Still ahead tonight, celebrating the Queen of England. The party is just getting started. But in another part of the world, people are actually struggling for the very basics following a devastating earthquake. When KMIR News at 4:30 continues.
You're watching KMIR News at 4:30 with Thalia Hayden and Chief Meteorologist Ginger Jeffries.
Now to Decision 2016. The question was about transgender rights, and the answer got Donald Trump in trouble with conservatives. Steve Handelsman has the latest from Washington.
We love you, everybody.
On Today, Donald Trump proved again he is not as conservative as many Republicans.
Leave it the way it is, right now.
Siding with Hillary Clinton on the bathroom brawl, North Carolina's new law requiring transgender people to use public restrooms that match the sex of their birth. Celebrities are boycotting, corporations threatening cutbacks, costing the state money. That's what concerns Trump. But he said Caitlyn Jenner could use the ladies' room in Trump Tower.
People go, they use the bathroom that they feel is appropriate. There has been so little trouble, and the problem with what happened in North Carolina is the strife.
Ted Cruz in Maryland, one of 5 states to hold primaries Tuesday, accused Trump of political correctness.
Grown adult men, strangers, should not be alone in a bathroom with little girls.
In Connecticut, where the vote is Tuesday, Democrat Hillary Clinton slammed the ban on suing gun makers.
I voted against it. My opponent, Senator Sanders, voted for it.
Bernie Sanders is in Pennsylvania, where the primary's Tuesday.
If there is a large voter turnout, I believe we will win.
But Sanders is under pressure after Tuesday to dial back so Democrats can focus on Trump. The Republican frontrunner today opposed putting Harriet Tubman on the front of the $20 bill and taking Andrew Jackson off. Donald Trump calling that pure political correctness. I'm Steve Handelsman, NBC News, Washington.
When we come back, parts of Texas are soaked, more people forced from their homes, how they're coping, coming up next.
We have certainly been the hot spot of the nation all week long, but we're going to start to trade that out for the windy spot in the nation. I'll explain coming your way after the break.
And in this afternoon's stock market close, down day across the board. Dow down 114, NASDAQ lost 2, S&P down 11.
Ahead for us tonight, a live report from Minnesota on the death of pop superstar Prince and, of course, a look at his career and legacy. The awful fate of an assault victim in the streets of Chicago has turned a harsh light on passersby and has many wondering, what would I do? And after his big loss this week, Bernie Sanders sits down with us. It's all we see you tonight for NBC Nightly News from San Francisco.
Evacuations have been ordered in Wharton, Texas. That's in the southeastern part of the state. Days of heavy rain have swamped city roads and homes, forcing many to a local shelter. The nearby Colorado River is 7 feet above flood stage. One resident says it's the worst flooding he's seen in 8 years. Area schools are closed today and tomorrow. Nothing like we're seeing here in the valley, just sunshine and warmth and wind, right, Ginger?
Yes, what we do best in spring is not bring in the showers, but it's definitely wind up the wind machine. We've got a lot of wind to talk about, my friends. The net result, your temperatures are going down. So as we look at numbers in the mid to low 90s, understand this is going to be the biggest impact for us over about the next 36 hours. Right now, wind relatively calm. It's very temperamental. We've got some double-digit sustained winds right now in La Quinta and Thermal, with winds gusting between about 10 to 13 miles an hour along the I-10, but this really manageable. And again, I call it temperamental just because we're starting to see the early waves of moisture and cool air move on shore. As that happens, we're going to get some reaction down here in the Southland, especially because winds are so dominant here in the Coachella Valley. But as all this moisture and, more importantly, the cold air trailing the front, as this drops into play, well, cold air or low pressure systems, they come in in right at the surface, and they kind of act like a wedge. They knock everything out of its way. So they're very aggressive systems, they're very fast systems, but they're also very short-lived. So as far as this wind event goes, it doesn't look like it's going to stretch past Saturday morning, but we've got another round in the works for you on Monday. Now, let's take a look at where the moisture is going to be. All of it really staying in central and northern California. It's just this tail edge of moisture that's going to drop in maybe around San Luis Obispo. More importantly, it's all this cold air that's going to be thrown onshore literally by the wind and the speed of this cold front. So here we go. I'm going to step out of frame because I want you to follow along and notice the data. We're really only seeing strong winds in desert hot springs and through the pass. By the morning hours, winds under 10 miles an hour. So wind shouldn't get going here in the Coachella Valley until after about 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And remember, our high wind advisory goes into effect tomorrow evening. So it looks like this data is going to coincide with the advisory from the National Weather Service. Get ready for those strong winds right around sundown tomorrow, but it's going to bring around cooler temperatures. We'll see that and feel that tomorrow morning as numbers looking for about 69 degrees in the morning. Daytime highs, though, we're still technically above the normal range, spanning from about 90 degrees in Palm Springs to 92 to the east end of the valley. Check out what happens on Saturday, though. Numbers will drop into the 80s. Recovery on Sunday. Big drop on Monday as another strong cold pressure system is going to move through to the north of us, knocking our numbers not just down in the 80s, but below the normal range. So we didn't do it this week, didn't think it was going to happen, but you know, those 100s are just around the corner. As soon as the wind tapers off, Palm Springs will pop the mercury into 100 degrees. What date will that happen? Log on to KMIR.com and your guess could win you $100. Thalia.
Thanks, Ginger. Coming up next, Queen Elizabeth's big birthday. We'll show you how they celebrate in the UK. Queen Elizabeth is 90 years old today. She met with a group of people born in the same year, 1926. One of them is Dorothy Piper, who talked about how the world had changed since she and Queen Elizabeth were born.
What has been the biggest change? Just, well, after the war, I lived through the war. I was, a youngster. And the world has changed. Regrettably, I don't think for the better. And I think we must keep this monarchy going because they are the solid part of this country. Governments come and go. And they're voted in and out, but the Queen is there. Nobody can touch her. She is number one in the world.
All right, Queen Elizabeth is Britain's oldest and longest serving monarch. Keir Simmons reports from Windsor.
The Queen emerging this morning to cheering crowds. Tonight she will celebrate at a private party. 60 guests, mostly relatives.
It's quite a moment for the family.
Overnight, her official birthday portrait published, posing with Princess Charlotte and Prince George and some of her other grandchildren and great-grandchildren. The photographer, American Annie Leibovitz. Another picture, the Queen with 4 of her beloved dogs. William paying tribute in a new interview.
Having lost my mother at a very young age, it's been particularly important for me that I've had somebody like the Queen to look up to and who's been there, who's understood some of the more complex issues, when you lose a loved one.
The Queen, turning 90, serenaded this week. By all ages. While NBC News given permission to air rarely seen footage of the Queen as a young mother to Charles, the world's most photographed woman, who almost never shows emotion in public, but loves a good joke. A little eccentric and humble, saying on turning 80...
As Groucho Marx once said, anyone can get old. All you have to do is to live long enough.
And this morning, Britain says, thank you, Your Majesty. And while the Queen's been on walkabout here in Windsor, a 41-gun salute has been held in central London. Tomorrow, the President will be here to wish her happy birthday in person. Back to you.
And still ahead, a look at some of the other stories making headlines at 4:30 and tonight at 5. We are remembering Prince, a major loss in the music world. We'll hear from fans straight ahead. Here's some top stories today. The WWE has lost a legend of its own. Former wrestling star Joan China Laurer has died. Redondo Beach police say they found China's body inside her apartment. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Department is investigating. No word on the time of her death or the cause. Authorities say there is no sign of foul play. She was just 46 years old. Heavy showers fell on earthquake-battered southern Japan today, adding to the problems of people already rattled by continuing aftershocks. It's been a week since the region was first hit by a magnitude 6 earthquake, followed by a second quake on Saturday, measuring up to a magnitude 7.3. They destroyed thousands of homes and killed 48 people. The heavy rain has forced crews to call off searches. It's just too dangerous because of unstable hillsides. Volunteers keep pouring into the disaster zone. Some 600 aftershocks that have rattled the area followed the two major quakes. Japan's meteorological agency has warned residents to expect the earth to continue to rumble in southern Japan for at least another week. Survivors of Saturday's devastating earthquake in Ecuador are growing increasingly desperate as they struggle to get water and food. Humanitarian aid has been arriving, but distribution is slow. In one town, people waited several hours for water and food supplies in a line that was almost a mile long. The magnitude 7.8 quake has killed 600 people. And now for the rest of the day's news, I'm going to turn it over to Gino Lamont.
All right, thank you, Thalia. Straight ahead, the death of Prince. Prince performing what may be his definitive song, Purple Rain. Tonight we remember a supernova of music. And we're going to hear from fans, some of them musicians, about the influence of this musical genius.
Temperatures today starting to come down courtesy of some cloud cover, but wind, that's going to be the talk of the town by tomorrow. Details you can't miss coming up in my complete forecast.
First in the Coachella Valley, you're watching KMIR TV Palm Springs, where the news comes first. KMIR News starts now.
Good evening. This is the KMIR News at 5, streaming live at KMIR.com. I'm Gino Lamont. Janet Zapala has the night off. First on KMIR tonight, the death of a pop superstar and music legend. Prince has died. His death came as a shock to many, in part because he was such a private figure and because he was known for living such a healthy lifestyle. But recently he had been sick. Janelle Klein has more.
The body of the 57-year-old singer was discovered this morning here at his home in suburban Minneapolis. No details have yet been released, but nearby, outside of Prince's Paisley Park studios, a small group of fans assembled in the rain to honor the artist's memory. As a singer, songwriter, and instrumentalist, the man-born Prince Rogers Nelson was among the most influential and acclaimed musicians of his time, inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004.
I'm a musician. I live for that. I live for playing and creating songs.
The Minneapolis native sold more than 100 million records worldwide. Hits including When Doves Cry, Little Red Corvette, and Let's Go Crazy all drew upon influences as wide-ranging as James Brown, the Beatles, and Jimi Hendrix. One of his biggest hits made the lyric "Party Like It's 1999" an ingrained part of pop culture. 7 Grammy Awards, a Golden Globe, and an Academy Award were also part of Prince's legacy. As recently as 2014, he turned in a show-stopping 8-minute performance on Saturday Night Live.
Think of him as someone who is ageless. I mean, if you look at him across the spectrum of his career, he seems so youthful even now.
Prince brought an energy and innovation to his sound that made a man standing just 5'2" a giant in popular music. Janelle Klein, NBC News.
Tributes to Prince are worldwide. His death, as we mentioned, is a shock. And today, President Obama offered a tribute, calling Prince, quote, one of the most gifted and prolific musicians of our time. He went on to say that nobody's spirit was stronger, bolder, or more creative. Purple Rain today at Target Field as the Minnesota Twins remembered Prince. The team turned all the lights purple at the baseball stadium with a special message on the video boards that read, "Good night, sweet Prince." The Twins posted the image on Twitter account saying that it was fitting that it was raining in Minneapolis today. Prince was a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee and a Minnesota native. Prince performed as recently as last Thursday in Atlanta. This is cell phone video shot by a fan who, along with everyone else at the performance, showed their appreciation of Prince with a standing ovation. Well, some called him a genius, and lots of fans, musicians, and non-musicians alike say Prince changed their lives. And he had a connection to the Coachella Valley. Prince was a headliner at the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival back in 2008. Here's a little clip of that performance.
I wish you were special. Yes, I do.
This, of course, is week 2 of Coachella 2016. Music fans in town for the long weekend spoke about Prince, as did the owner of the Hard Rock Hotel in Palm Springs.
I couldn't believe it, actually. I came out of the Hard Rock Hotel this morning to hit the pool and go for breakfast, and I actually saw it first on Instagram, on social media, all these people posting pictures about Prince, and I honestly couldn't believe it. I looked up his age and realized he was only 57 years old, and it was a shock to me for sure. Being a big music fan that I am, I couldn't believe it.
Everybody, all the staff here, they're heartbroken. It's a music hotel, and he was an icon, and for 30 plus years he's been an icon and still relevant today, so just sad.
He and Michael Jackson were the first black artists played on MTV. You know, he started in the late 70s and played all the instruments himself on his first couple albums. Then he made the movie Purple Rain. He, took on the record industry when nobody else did, changed his name so he could claim his recordings and continue to record without the insistence of a record label hovering over him, telling him what he could do, telling him what he could release. He's such a pioneer.
Prince's influence is far-reaching. His era spans at least 30 years. KMIR's Kitty Alvarado is live at the Hard Rock in Palm Springs with the story of one musician who says Prince changed her life. Kitty.
Well, that's right. You'd be pretty hard-pressed to find anyone in the music industry who doesn't respect what Prince accomplished in his career. But one local musician says he did change her life for the better. Jeannie Cunningham is still trying to process the death of a legend, Prince.
Never meant to cause you any sorrow.
She describes Prince as a multi-talented genius.
Initially, you kind of go into a shock and a denial. He was so young, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
She describes Prince as a multi-talented genius.
When you think about the true greats in the world, there are great vocalists, there are great guitarists, there are great actors, there are great individual talents. Prince encapsulated all of them.
She says Prince's career path made her think it was possible for her to branch out. Cunningham was among the first women to own a recording studio.
I was inspired by Prince, and I felt that if Prince can do it, I can do it. If you can produce your own stuff and play your own instruments and do it well, that was started by Prince.
Cunningham says a move Prince made put her on stage with another music icon.
As a result of Prince stealing Sheila E. from Lionel Richie's band, that I got that gig. If Sheila had not left to play with Prince, he would not have needed a female vocalist for his road band. So that's how I got that job.
Cunningham says future musicians can learn a lot from Prince.
I'm hoping that this next generation of musicians will take a look at him and look at what he did and revere him for not only his expression of talent, but his expression of sentiment in a lot of his songs.
She says the artist who changed his name several times can never be duplicated.
He was truly, truly one of the best that our generation has ever seen. And I don't know that we'll see so much talent in one unique individual ever again.
Jeannie now inspires local children, teaching them guitar, hoping they become one of the greats, maybe the next Prince. Reporting live in Palm Springs, Kitty Alvarado, KMIR News.
All right, Kitty, thank you for that. Of course, there's still a lot unknown about the death of Prince. He was hospitalized last week with flu-like symptoms, but right now there's no official word on how exactly he died. We will, of course, have continuing coverage here on KMIR News as new information unfolds in the coming days. All right, changing gears a little bit, we're looking at Coachella Weekend 2 coming up, and things seem to be at least somewhat cooler. KMIR News Chief Meteorologist Ginger Jeffrey standing by with your forecast. Hi, Ginger.
I like Chief Ginger. That had a nice
We're going to
ring
call you
to
from
it.
now
All
on
right.
Chief Ginger.
Let's go with that. Yes, temperatures definitely cooling down, all with the help of a little bit of cloud cover, which is a sign that, yep, we've got some wind in the works. Rick showing us spring color is alive and well. Rachel calls this place, quite simply, paradise. And I've got to agree with you. Check out a mixture of all the blooms going on and a little bit of cloud cover headed our direction, which again is branching off from some very active weather in central and northern California that will have an impact on our bottom line. Right now, we're at about 94 degrees, but the big issue in our forecast is the wind that is coming our direction. What it's going to do is knock those daytime highs back down into the 80s, but it's just the beginning of a little bit of a wind series we have in the 7-day forecast tonight. Variable clouds, overnight lows down to about 62 degrees, looking for winds out of the west at 15 miles an hour. The wind advisory does go into place tomorrow evening, expires Saturday morning, but you do need to get ready for those wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. Clearly, that's going to leave a mark. I've got details you can't miss in just a couple minutes. Gino.
All right, thank you, Chief Ginger. Still ahead tonight, Coachella 2016 wristbands. Yeah, they're up for grabs. We're going to take you live to the Westfield Mall where a drawing will take place tonight. Stick around for that. Plus, saving the Salton Sea. We'll tell you about the latest efforts in that. All that and more coming up. Stick around.
You're watching KMIR News at 5 with Gina Lamont, Janet Zappala, and Chief Meteorologist Ginger Jeffries.
Well, you could say that April is Music Month here in the Coachella Valley. Right now, we're entering week 2 of Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival, and tonight we're drawing for wristbands to Coachella 2016. KMIR News has your passport to Coachella. Angela Monroe live at Westfield Palm Desert with more on tonight's giveaway. Angela, good evening.
Gino, hundreds of people have already turned out hoping to win that pair of free tickets. Now, we gave away a pair online earlier this week, but you have to be here at the Westfield Palm Desert to win. And you still have an hour. We are accepting people here for an hour. As you can tell, we've already had quite the line to get your passport to Coachella. There you'll hear huge names like Guns N' Roses, but also local bands. Let's meet Brightner and the Flusters. The Flusters will be saying hello to the big stage. This local band is getting ready to perform at Coachella Fest Week 2.
It's half fear, half excitement, half exhaustion, half energy. I had to take a knee when I was given the news.
Yeah, he called me and he was hyperventilating.
The Flusters formed in Palm Desert a little more than a year ago and have already been voted best local band in a local publication.
We're new kids on the block here, musically and like literally. We're not from here, we're transplants. And now I feel like this is my home. This is my home turf. And it's because of the community.
Like a light remote.
The frontman of another local group, Brightner, already played last weekend at Coachella.
Coachella Weekend 1 was awesome. I mean, growing up here and being on the other side of the festival for the past 9 years and then getting to experience that.
And he'll experience it again this weekend, playing keyboard for the Flusters.
I'll be back for Weekend 2, same stage. Really excited, different band.
So listen up, as local musicians, the Flusters, take the stage.
It's probably the most moving experiences of our life.
Yeah, it absolutely has been the most incredible experience of my life, and it's so, like there's no words for it. And our gratitude, maybe.
The Flusters will be playing noon Saturday on the Outdoor Theater. To see them, Guns N' Roses, Calvin Harris, Ice Cube, and more, come on here to the Westfield Palm Desert. As you can see, we've got quite the lineup. We will be announcing the winners live during the KMIR News at 6. And during that as well, there's actually going to be a live free concert who you just heard there. They're going to be here at the Coachella Valley Art Scene, so you're going to want to check that out too. Come down, you still have time to be a winner. Live in Palm Desert, I'm Angela Monroe, KMIR News.
All right, thank you, Angela. Well, we're hearing about change in the weather for Coachella too. Ginger.
Winds of change are going to be blowing tomorrow. We've got a high wind advisory that goes into effect tomorrow. The result is going to be temps in the 80s for Saturday, but we're even cooler in the 7-day. Details you can't miss after the break.
And first on tonight's stock market close, looks like a down day across the big board with the Dow losing 114. The NASDAQ dropped 2, the S&P down 11. We'll be right back. All right, we've almost made it to the weekend, so let's check in with KMIR News Chief Meteorologist Ginger Jeffries, who's standing by. Ginger.
I thought slowing it down, that helped you out a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
I was all ready to call you my Kemosabe, and then you just, you got rid of, yeah, what?
Yep,
Come
sorry.
on, all right.
Sorry.
We'll play later. 90s outside right now. We've got a lot to talk about, in fact, because of the winds of change developing. The wind is really going to be coming in from the southwest, so a little different from last week where we had predominantly a northwest flow. Things are switching it up just a little bit, which means the extent of this wind event is going to be a little more minimal compared to last week. But this is just the first of a double dose of winds coming our way. I'll explain in just a minute. Right now, we've got winds at about 10 miles an hour in Indio. This is all response to quite a bit of moisture and a buzzsaw that's now moving on shore. You can't miss this guy. It's got a nice tight center of circulation, very well organized system, an abundance of cold air trailing the front. Moisture obviously not an issue for us, but as this cold air comes down into the Southland, it's going to kick up quite a bit of wind in our neck of the woods. I'll put this in motion for you so you can see where the moisture, the showers, the unstable weather is going to be. That's really central and northern California for you and me. As this cold air gets closer, our pressure tightens up, and again, we have a big impact as far as temperatures. They're really coming down. Remember, we were dangerously close to 100 degrees this week, but now notice what happens in the next 24 hours when not that bad in the double digits, yeah, certainly, but then by about 4 to 5 o'clock tomorrow evening, we'll get those stronger winds, 25-mile-an-hour winds in Thousand Palms, gust potential over 35 miles an hour, and that's all cold air that's rushing our direction. So I think you're going to really start to feel it in the morning. It's going to be notably cooler for you, and then a mixed bag by the afternoon hours. We're still going to get the mercury up to 90 degrees because remember, the wind really doesn't kick in until late afternoon, early evening, but that is going to change things by Saturday. Tomorrow, for your fabulous Friday forecast, I've got temperatures stretching between about 90 to 92 degrees. I've got 91 in La Quinta tomorrow, about 89 in Thousand Palms, 88 Desert Hot Springs, low 80s through the pass, about 49 top of the Tram, and High Desert, you're looking for numbers at 83 in 29 Palms. But look at this. Today we are in the mid-90s. Tomorrow, 90 degrees, upper 80s on Saturday, and then the wind tapers off by Sunday, revisiting the Southland on Monday, and that's going to be a little more vigorous of a wind event. Stronger winds all in from the northwest, and I think it's really going to knock those numbers down below the normal range, 82 to 83 degrees. You asked me a couple weeks ago when we cooled down if that was going to be the last hurrah. I said, nope, I think we got a couple more in the works. Next week, I think that's going to be the last time you see these temperatures this low for a little bit, so enjoy it.
You mean November?
October, maybe.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. All right, thank you, Ginger. Coming up next, saving the Salton Sea. We'll tell you about the latest wave of ideas. Plus, a bizarre case of burglary and sexual assault in Palm Springs. We'll tell you about that when we come back. A bizarre case of burglary and sexual assault of a couple in Palm Springs. The suspect recently arrested for child annoyance. Now, investigators say Thomas Mabe broke into a home on East Mesquite Avenue in Palm Springs about 3 o'clock this morning. Police reports say Mabe climbed through a window and at some point sexually assaulted both the sleeping husband and wife. The couple fought back and were able to pin Mabe down. Police were called. When they arrived, they placed him under arrest. Saving the Salton Sea has been a call to action across the valley for many years now, and in Palm Springs today, community members met to talk about what they could do. Now, there are concerns about air pollutants if the sea were to dry up completely, but there's no clear consensus on exactly how to save it. Today's exchange included a look at the Salton Sea's history and its place in our future.
Well, I think we're going to have to deal with the fact that it's going to be smaller. What we're insisting on is that it also be a sustainable body of water. It's the largest inland body of water in California. It's going to be significantly smaller, and that exposed lake bed poses a public health threat to the people who live around it.
Today's event was sponsored by the Gay Desert Guide. We'll have another look at today's top stories right after the break. A recap now of our top story at 5, the death of music icon Prince. Prince's death came as a shock because he was known for living a healthy lifestyle. Despite the fact that he was a very private figure, there are reports he had been fighting the flu for several weeks during his current tour. He last performed on Thursday. We'll have more for you coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. We'll see you then.